Ooh, and we're live, Chuck. Cheers, dude.
Oh, cheers, dude. Where was the cool little funky intro? I didn't see it. I was sitting there staring at the screen.
It was really just the countdown. The countdown's the intro. That's really it. It's nothing that fancy. I hyped it up too much.
I was waiting for this extreme intro, and I was like, all right, it's coming.
So just to give you guys context, I hyped up the intro. Really, it's our 60-second countdown that gets into it. But now that you're saying this, Rogue just launched a really cool new intro and outro to their videos. And I'm thinking about talking to Deuce, one of our coaches and the marketing dude now behind the scenes, media, about getting a cool intro maybe for this now. Now that we say that, we're going to have to get a cool intro
for the Saturday workouts, and then get an intro. Get an intro for all three.
Everything.
The meal prep, this talk. Get it all. Get all of it, Mike. I don't know why I'm doing this, but get all.
It's just exciting. So, I didn't tell Chuck what we're talking about. This is my favorite thing to do with Chuck. Also, you guys might have noticed, this is not Gina. Gina's not here. She actually has her anniversary tonight. So she was going out to celebrate her anniversary, right? So I thought she was just going out for a date night. I'm like, that's cool. Go out for date night. She goes, no, it's our anniversary, dude. I wouldn't just not show up for a stream because it's a date night. I was like, you could also just go on a date. I don't care. But happy anniversary to Gina and Josh. This is Coach Chuck. If you guys haven't, for whatever reason, caught our Saturday workouts, or if you haven't seen any of the podcasts that we have on lifestyleoffitness.com or the Lifestyle of Fitness stuff, Chuck is going to be joining us and then hopefully be working in more and more.
Oh, you keep saying working in more and more. I don't know why you consistently want me to keep coming on these things. But
I don't even want you here, Chuck. It's not me that actually. That's a lie. I totally do, obviously. But
take off on you, Mike.
Yeah, right. Bye, Chuck. What? It's the people. So here's the fun fact, guys. Let us know in the chat. Chuck will be able to see the comments. Not that he'll believe them. He'll think I'm paying you guys or something. Or
yeah, I don't know. As much
yeah.
support as you guys give, and I appreciate every ounce of support you give. I really think Mike has paid the general population to say that they like me. I don't know why.
So what we're going to dig into, by the way, Chuck, we have products in the carousel. We're not really going to be talking about that. Wednesdays on the podcast is a unique time where we'll have things relative to the stream. Like I have the mics and the camera and all that fun stuff and some fitness stuff we might talk about. But really, we're just going to break stuff down. And today's topic is something that was requested in the past. It's all about boundaries. And we're going to look at boundaries in a variety of ways. And I was thinking we look at, obviously, maybe family dynamic boundaries, but also boundaries with food, boundaries with, maybe potentially toxic people in our lives. Like, for example, I'll paint you guys a scenario. Let's say you're trying to change and shift your nutrition and you live with roommates or you live with your family and maybe they're not trying to eat the same way you are, trying to establish boundaries of yo, listen, I'm not trying to have cookies and cupcake. Now you can't tell them what to do, obviously, but you can set certain boundaries of hey, don't come into my room with that, or, you don't buy those things and you have your own setup and your own things, and hey, don't eat my food. Because here's another thing. I'll be honest with you, Chuck. I was the worst at this. My brother will tell you.
I feel like you eat everybody's food, Mike. Yeah, I don't care if there's a label on it or not. You're eating it.
That was the one thing I was guilty of.
A long time.
Yeah. So, and the other thing I do that I'm trying to be aware of for my kids is to help also have them establish boundaries. Is if they're eating something and I start eating off their plate, to say, no, Dad. No.
So don't stab you with the fork, because I would totally stab you with the fork. So
I'd be okay with that.
So don't stab your sibling with the fork. Just say, no, that's mine. Go get your own.
Exactly. And dude, so I wanted to, even though we're going to talk about boundaries, we're really just going to talk about everything. We're going to bounce all around. And one of the things I'm excited to talk about is you talked about something on a prior podcast, and it was like family contributions for our kids or for your kids. And we just implemented that this week. And basically saying, hey, Lena, like you help out, you clean up, put things away. I'm going to give you $1. It was actually $2, which maybe I think I'm going to follow you with like however old you are. That's going to be like your weekly contribution amount or exchange. So like she's $3. And now the ripple effect, not only she's cleaning stuff up and being more helpful around that side, but she also, when she went to the store after school one day with Ashley, instead of getting a lollipop or getting food, she goes, no, I want to save money and be able to save up for a toy at the end of the month. So I thought that was absolutely massive. And I wanted to give you props for that, Chuck, because you were the source of that one. So
well, you can't even, I mean, we implemented it and like kind of modified it, but I think it was Mel Robbins. Pina found it from Mel Robbins. Listen, when we were kids, what did we have? We had chores, right? And we hated our chores. It's 100%. Just that, it's that word chores.
Because it's a chore.
It's a chore. It resonated with me that the word chores is just a very negative word around an action that you really just don't even want to do.
Exactly.
Right? No matter if I get an allowance at the end of the week if I do my chores. They're chores. It's a negative word. So rather than putting focus on a negative word and trying to reinforce the kids to even want to do it, by changing that to the word family contributions, you're contributing to a family, to your family, and you will get an allowance based upon you doing your family contributions. Because what? Mom and dad work hard all week long. And even after we come home from working hard, even if we're working home from home, we still work hard. And then we have to cook and clean and take care of the kids and help with homework and get our fitness in and try to eat right. And jujitsu, even though Mike's not consistent.
I was gonna say, even though I'm not consistent, right? I saw your comment, but I didn't see it until like 5 minutes after. I'm like, oh, he got me. He got me.
I was on real quick, and you said something about being consistent with yoga, and I was like, bam, perfect timing, and then I was out.
Like consistency, dude.
So, as adults, as parents, as professionals, we have all of these things that we need to do to contribute for our family. And as our kids are growing and seeing us and they're interacting with the family, they see mom and dad doing all this stuff. So as they're capable of starting to do more as they get older, they need to start contributing more. And if they contribute more, they will earn something. So we were just talking previously to starting this, for Christmas, we are giving our kids a trip to Disney and Universal. It's coming up in April. And we've been talking about it for quite some time, and we finally pulled the trigger on it. But our kids, we told them, listen, mom and dad are going to pay for the hotel. We're going to pay for the flight. We're going to pay for all the food. But anything you want in the park, anything you want to buy while you're there, you're responsible for it. So do your family contributions, earn your allowance, and save up for the stuff that you want to buy. Whether it's stuff that you want to buy and save up when we're going to this trip, or if you want a toy or candy or whatever it is that you really want, you're responsible for it.
Maybe a lightsaber. I don't know.
I know Carmela's going to buy that lightsaber.
Yeah. And that just makes me so happy and excited to just like be able to pull from that. And again, if you guys want to share some things around that in the chat, feel free to share. Like this can definitely be a more interactive kind of stream and a podcast where you guys can throw in your thoughts, ask questions.
I want to see the comments. I don't see any comments so far, so I don't even know if anybody's watching.
That's true. So here's the other thing too. You're going to see the comments for Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and that stuff in the comment section. And hey, what's going on, Lewis? You won't see on Amazon unless you open up a separate tab that has our Amazon link, which I can actually text you. But yeah, Lewis says, hey, by the way. Yeah, Lewis, what's going on, homie? How you doing?
Apparently I don't see anything, but Mike's going to read them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm going to read them to you, and I'm also going to send you. I don't think you'll be able to open them just because of you're going to be like using are you on your tablet or your phone?
I'm on my tablet. My phone is over there. So
I'm going to text you this so you can open it on your phone if you want to see the chat, but it'll also, you might have to mute it. But I'm going to text this to you right now.
Meow.
I think I just added an extra letter in that. Let's see if I screwed that up.
Okay. You texted it.
I definitely I texted an extra letter in there, but I think this will work. I'm going to text it twice just to be safe. But Lewis, how you doing tonight, by the way? What's going on, homie? Again, guys, just drop by, say hey in the chat if you want to. No pressure to. And just this is going to be a kind of different vibe. We're talking about boundaries. So I want to tie this back into the boundaries of things. And, like, hear me out on this one. This may sound weird, Chuck, so I'm curious your thoughts on it. When I think about boundaries is especially as, like, you know, as we age as people, kids, like, I can even see Lena already, like, even like both of them, even at a young age, they're like establishing their boundaries. Like, hey, you're too close to me, get away. Like, even just like spatial boundaries, and then that creating. I want to be able to make them feel okay with establishing and communicating those boundaries, and then having that roll into as they get older, like getting into their preteens and teens. Like, your kids are in that stage where, like, we're about to get ready for high school. Like, we're getting into another stage, and this growth and wanting to have, like, I imagine maybe your kids spend more time in their rooms than they would in the past. I don't know if that's true, actually.
Yeah, they're constantly in the room right now. But, you know, no matter how much you try to set those boundaries now and teach them boundaries, Mike, they're never going to freaking do it. You know how many times, like, I've had the conversation with both of my children about respecting each other's privacy and boundaries. And, like, my daughter just loves to bother her brother. Loves it. There's so many times. Yeah, it's like she wants to just spend time with him, but she doesn't understand that, you know, he doesn't want to spend every waking minute with his sister.
I get that.
And like he's got like this invisible force field in his room. And as soon as you cross that threshold of his room, especially if you're Ava, just get out of my room.
It's a wrap.
And she won't respect her boundaries, and she's constantly just going in his room to bother him. She just loves bothering him. But we've had the conversation with respecting each other's privacy and boundaries in their entire life. You know, recently we have 3 bathrooms in this house. There's 3. They fight over the same bathroom constantly. So now I had to set a schedule, and I had to say, okay, instead of fighting over it, now you're gonna adhere to a schedule. So Ava, you wake up and your bus comes first. So you get the first 20 minutes in the bathroom. Carmelo, it literally takes you 5 minutes to get ready. So as soon as Ava's done, then you can go into the bathroom and do what you need to do. Respect each other's privacy, set some boundaries up around it, and adhere to it. Because I mean, seriously, how many more times can you throw elbows at each other when you're trying to brush teeth? There's no need for it.
But it happened. And then, like, I imagine it's just that pattern you get into. And that was something I was even talking about at the gym, is like we get into certain patterns, and then it's also kind of like fun. It's like a game, especially when you have a sibling. They're so close in age. Like, me and my brother are 3.5 years apart, but like growing up, we were like we shared a room together. Like, you know, for better or for worse, like, you know, I was responsible for him as the older brother. And when you're close in age, like especially like Lena and Tessa are too, they're a year apart, more or less. It's like you're gonna have that dynamic and some of the conflict, I'll call it, for lack of a better term. But I think at the end of the day, it's healthy to a certain component, because then in my opinion, you can always tell when someone has a sibling or not, because you can see if they don't have like ways to deal with other people and even like social components of it, which I think is interesting too. So with that being said, Chuck, I want to kind of bounce with this idea of boundaries. You know, we can bounce around. I want to look at family a little bit. We'll look at that. We can look at health. And then again, if you guys have questions in the chat around something around boundaries in your life or things that you want to speak about, feel free to let us know and we'll dig into it. But families, man, there's so many aspects of boundaries, and we don't have to go too far into too many details, but I'll even say just it was very important for me. And Chuck, we've talked about this many, many of times over the last 5 years of me having to have boundaries with my family, and in different ways, and good things and bad things. Like, it's not like, I don't want it to paint it to be a bad picture. I think it's just a healthy thing that has to happen. And when you have like codependent relationships and things like that, and it definitely took me a lot of time. And like, but now in hindsight, or looking back at it, as much as I miss my family and in New York, and I miss you, and I miss Pina and the kids, and like the group we have and that dynamic of it, being able to just say, hey, like, I'm in North Carolina, man. Like, when S is hitting the fan, like, I don't have to be right there. These are my boundaries. Like, if you come into my house and you like bring drugs into my house, or if you know, are not sober to come into my house, like, there's going to be problems, and you're not welcome because of that.
Right. And I think it was helpful to have an outside, person to discuss it with. I mean, when you were talking to me about it, not having to see it firsthand and hearing you explain it to me, and then, you know, me giving you my feedback from an outsider kind of looking in, I'm sure it was very helpful for you. I'm terrible at setting boundaries up, especially with my friends, with my family. I was recently just told that I have a very long list of people that I've written off in my life. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't have a long list of people there. And it was a couple that we were out to dinner with, and they were like, oh, yeah, you tend to write people off if they like make you mad. And like if they do anything that like upsets you in any particular way, you write them off. And they're like, we never want to be on your list. I was like, I really didn't even realize that I did that. And then I like after the dinner, I like reflected back and I was like, yeah, now I do kind of understand what they're saying, because I don't have time for nonsense. And if somebody's trying to bring nonsense or negativity or start trouble into my life, whether it be into my family dynamic or my friend dynamic or my training dynamic, if somebody's trying to bring any type of negativity or nonsense into it, get out, and I'll write you off completely. I don't have time for it. So I'm terrible at setting up boundaries and repairing relationships afterwards. If I've written you off, I've kind of just written you off. You know, it takes a while to gain my trust. And if you break that trust, it takes an even longer time to regain that trust back. I'm terrible with it. You know, I'm also terrible with when friends call me up and say that they need something. I'm the first person to raise my hand and say, yeah, I'm going to dive right in and help you. So it's tough for me to kind of set up boundaries. I have a very similar situation where my family is in upstate New York and I moved down to Long Island. So when, you know, things hit the fan, I'm not there. I can help as much as I can help, either over the phone or whether it's sending money or giving my opinion or something. But I hear a lot, you know, you moved away so you don't have to deal with this stuff. And it's tough to hear sometimes, but honestly, it's probably the best thing for not only you going down to North Carolina and establishing what I like to call your family, you know, setting up your dynamic, setting up your household. I did the same thing down here in Long Island.
Yeah, and I think that's such a great point. And also, Diane, thanks for the follow. Hopefully, I'm not butchering how to pronounce that, because it's Dyanne. How do you think to pronounce that, Chuck? I don't know if you can.
That would be Diane.
Right? I'm just saying, making sure. But thanks for the follow, by the way. Greatly appreciated. But I think to your point, Chuck, you were actually a really big influence in that, along with like my therapist and even like my dad and talking to my mom and like family dynamics there. Like they were actually surprisingly supportive at certain stages of the conversation, but there's still this underlying like, you know, I don't want to throw individuals under the bus, but certain people that.
Right. There's obviously, you know, a little bit of either jealousy or pain. It's painful to hear, you know, so obviously your parents and your family love you and they always want to, you know, be there and support and do this. And sometimes they don't realize that they're either overbearing or they're doing something wrong until you call them out on it. And then it's obviously painful to hear that you as a parent or you as a family member are doing something that's, you know, upsetting the cart. You know, it's difficult to hear. So there's always going to be some type of, you know, somebody's going to get in their feelings, whether it's good or bad, right, wrong, or indifferent. There's always going to be feelings. And it's tough to get over your feelings when they get hurt. But sometimes it's great to just call it out. And I think it was very healthy for you to call it out and get it out in the open.
Yeah, and I think, at least from my experience, especially growing up, because we grew up very like Italianly influenced. Italianly, is that a word? I don't know. But with the Italian influence, the culture of like... You know, like, because like my mom's from Germany, right? Like, so my mom's born in Germany, raised in Germany, moved here when she was like 16 or 17. But then once she came here, she started dating my dad and stuff. Like, she just adopted the Italian culture into her life and how she thinks, like family first, loyalty, the Italian culture of, and I'm sure it's obviously other cultures as well. I'm speaking from my experience on that component with saying, hey, and like Chuck, you could speak to that as well. And like, especially New York, I don't know. I just feel like New York Italian's kind of a different Italian for some reason, or it's like a different segment of it. And you have to back your family no matter what. And it's like, well, dude, no, it took me so long, and you were a big help in that, especially with therapy and Ashley and some dynamics that play there. But you were a really big influence with saying like, hey, like you said, hey, this is a new structure to the family. It's not like me and my mom, my dad, my brother, and which it is, that is my family, but that's like secondary now to like the girls and my wife. That's like my core unit now.
Exactly.
And then everything outside of that's still family, but it's like a different role. Again, those boundaries become kind of different and redone, as it were.
Right, and it's a different dynamic. I mean, your parents were there from the first moment of your life until you established your new dynamic of this family. So it's very difficult it's going to be difficult for me, I'll tell you that right now. But I know it's going to be, just in my mindset, it's going to be a little bit easier for me to kind of back off and let my kids do their own thing when they're established. I'm always going to have somewhat influence over them, and I'll always be supportive of them. But I also have to know when to allow them to live on their own and push back and take a step back. It's going to be, for some people, it's harder than others. You got to have the right mindset. And again, sometimes unless I guarantee you that at some point in time in my life, listen, my daughter just called me an embarrassment a couple of weeks ago. And I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of times that, yeah, I know you're giggling over there.
Dude, my time's going to come, man. Like, I know my time's coming. I have two kids, I have two daughters, so.
Plenty of more times that I'm going to be called an embarrassment and told to back off and leave her alone and this, that, and the other thing. And, I know it's coming. Again, for the first time to be called an embarrassment, Dad, you're embarrassing me, back off. That was a shock.
Yeah. Because, dude, you're cool, man. Like, you're a cool dad. You're a cool person. Like, then I'm thinking, like, oh, man, if, like, people are saying you're an embarrassment, that family dynamic can be like, imagine what I'm going to be called.
Well, hey, listen, I try to be the cool dad, but, when things kind of go in the opposite direction of where I want them to go or where we know what's right and wrong. And,
right.
The topic of conversation that she was bringing up, and I'll tell you, there's, when they're in 6th and 7th grade, they get these Google Chromebooks, right? And the school monitors what's going on. There's this thing called Go Guardian. She's telling me that this kid on the bus found a way in to hack and get Go Guardian off of disable, right? And he was doing it to everybody's computer on the bus. I said to her, don't let him touch your computer because I don't need a call from your principal. Now, her principal, I personally trained her principal for all of COVID. I know him. I've got him on my phone. I can text him real simple. He's a good guy. He trusts and relies on me. And I thought that this was it's something needed to be said. So I said to her, oh, this is not cool, Ava. He shouldn't be doing that. Not only should he not be doing that to his computer or other kids' computers on the bus, you shouldn't allow him to do it. I think I need to say something to your principal. No, he's gonna know that it came from me. I said, all right, if you don't want me to say something to the principal, maybe I'll just speak to the kid on the bus tomorrow. No, you're an embarrassment to me. Don't you dare. Wow. I'm an embarrassment. But we know what's right and wrong, and what
that goes back to boundaries. That's boundaries, right. In my opinion. I tie that into like boundaries, moral code. So, and even backtracking a little bit to like, hey, you're the cool dad. I think there's also an important dynamic to establish that me and Ashley talked about, and this is something too for like. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a professional, but I will say is someone that's seen unsuccessful and successful relationships play out in a variety of manners. Communication is massive, and talk with your partner. Like me and Ashley talked like pretty much on our first date. Like, you know what our first date was, Chuck? I don't know if I ever told you this. So I picked her up in my pajamas, of course, because that's how I roll.
Because that's how I roll,
yeah. And
eating Reese's peanut butter cups and mangoes.
I definitely had Reese's before I came to pick her up. And I was like, all right, so this is what we're going to do. And she lives in Bayshore, so like right outside of Brightwaters. So we're like, all right, cool. We're just going to go drive around and look at nice houses. And I want to get a feel for your taste in house. Like, where would you want to live? How do you want to raise your family? Like, see if we're on the same wavelength here. Like, I'm not saying like we're going to buy a house right now, but like, let's see what your taste is like. Let's see what mine's like. And even before that, we were talking. And hey, Chuck, did I ever tell you, by the way, like I'm going to go on a whole story for you guys in case you guys haven't heard this. I actually made the move first. So it goes back to Super Bowl like 8 or 9 years ago now. So me and my buddy Rob took a picture for the Super Bowl. He posted it on his Facebook profile. Ashley saw the picture, commented on it because she wanted to piss him off partially, and she wanted some. What's up? And she wanted to be friends, or she wanted to just like, communicate. She wanted to communicate. She wanted to have some kind of connection. And she's like, hey, Rob, who's your cute friend? Like on the comments. Like,
Maybe she did want some.
Yeah, I mean, she did. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, so partially she's trying to get at Rob because she just likes to mess with him because she's a fun person like that. Partially she's like, oh, your friend's cute. And then he didn't answer any texts her privately, like, yo, dude, trust me, you don't want Mike. Mike's like not the kind of dude you want to be with. Like, because at the time I wasn't. Yeah, like at the time I wasn't like a bad person. I just like, I didn't want to settle down. At that point in my life, every relationship around me was like divorced or like wasn't really thriving. And I didn't know what like healthy relationships were, to be honest with you. And
Okay.
I was like, I just don't want to get married. I definitely want to have kids. I definitely want to have a baby mama. We'll have a dynamic where like, we'll be together. I can support you and stuff. Like, I don't want to have marriage. I just, for whatever reason, psyched me out. And she was like, nah, whatever. And then we ended up talking. We really vibed. She has German grandparents, like family and that stuff. So we vibed on that. Point of me saying all that is like going back to even like communication and then establishing boundaries. So saying, hey, we're not going to be our kid's friend when it comes down to it. And then, oh, what's up, Jay? Something I do. Yeah, Jay knows what's up. See? He's talking about pajamas. That's what I'm saying. I think he's talking about the pajamas. I think that's what he's referencing.
Not only would Jarrell rock the pajamas, but he would be wearing some really funky sneakers too. And like nobody would know what they are, and you got to point out and ask him what are those. So,
dude, can I tell you a funny story really quick about Jarrell? So back in the UFC gym days at Huntington, I'm embarrassed to say this. So Jarrell, I don't know if you'll remember this. I won't say who you brought to the gym, but I'll just say you were with someone. I was working out my underwear. Okay, at the gym. The gym was closed. It was after hours. It was like, you know it. What are those? What are those?
What are those?
So I'm like hitting the bag, bro. I'm going hard. Like I'm hitting the bag. I'm getting my work in. I'm rocking out on the stereos, and like I'm in my underwear. Like I'm just like boxers. Like I don't know why.
Full-blown underwear, no shirt, just
no shirt, just no shirt, no, bro. Just in my boxers, hitting the bag and shit. And I see Jarrell comes. I'm like, all right, this is my bad, dude. I'm sorry. And
was Jarrell already in the gym? Well,
no.
He was outside. Okay.
Yeah, he like just pulled up and like had somebody with him. I'm not gonna say who because I don't. It wasn't a bad situation. It was just like I don't know what his like life relationships are like right now, so I don't want to like say who or what it might be. But he brought somebody in, and like I popped up. Yeah. So yeah, he's like, I've just been in the back the whole time, man. I just wanted to let you know you should put clothes on.
Was that like his first question? Like, Mike, why we want this clothes?
Yeah.
But was Jarrell's first question to like, Mike, why are you in your underwear?
Dude, here's the crazy. From what I recall, like he didn't even like have it. Like he was just cool. He was just like.
Jarrell.
Just, you know what I mean? Like, just
had a full-blown conversation with you while you're in your underwear. Like, Mike, get that bag.
Yeah.
Get that work, Mike.
Yeah, that's basically, he's like, yeah, Mike, and then I just put clothes on. I was like, my bad, dude. I'll put clothes back on now. And, I finished up my workout, and this was like right when I was getting back into fighting, and it was before a title fight. So I was like, and I lived like around the corner from it at my old apartment. Maybe like 5 blocks away from the gym. So like I would just pop in at random hours at night when the gym was closed to get some work in. And like
in your underwear.
Yeah, in my underwear. Honestly, just had to walk away as fast as possible.
That's called Jarrell.
Yeah. Just like
Just, Mike, get that work, and then just run away.
Yeah, like he didn't say like, dude, what's your problem? Like he just from what I don't recall like the exact. I just remember that.
I mean, honestly, do you remember? Did he hit you with a "What are those"? I mean, because that's Jarrell's
thing. Dude, that's a good question. I don't remember that, but I just assume he did, just because at that point in our in the point in life, like that was the move, that was the line.
Yeah, that was it.
But yeah,
it couldn't be any worse than when Kyle was always wearing like tighty.
Oh, dude,
and he had
and his belly shirts.
Yes, belly shirts,
but like
pants.
I see you, Kyle. I see you.
They were belly shirts. They were totally belly shirts.
Oh yeah, dude. So that's I don't know. That was just a fun story. But going back to boundaries, have clothes on. That's an important one. Boundaries, have clothes on. That's definitely an important one. But honestly, like, so communicating with your partner, going back to the kids, don't be the cool parent. Because, like, that was the one thing I loved about my mom when I was younger. But in hindsight, like, I learned from her. So I appreciate Mom. I appreciate you, Mom, for, like, teaching me this lesson is, like, she'd let us have parties at the house. Because in our mind, it was better, like, rather be in our house and have control of the situation than, like, being elsewhere, but then there's like liabilities with like, I'm not going to have parties at my house. I'll tell you that. Like you know, I'll just say that.
I'm not having them here either, pal. But I mean, listen, communication is the foundation of any relationship. I mean, that boils down to like not only a successful career, a successful marriage, a successful relationship with your kids. It's all boils down to communication. You know, I'm going on 16 years of marriage right now, and if it wasn't for the fact that we didn't have solid communication with each other, you know, we've had our ups and downs. But if we don't talk to each other, if we don't have solid communication, then it would never last. Sorry. Same thing goes with my kids and our kids. We have to set up boundaries and communication with our kids. You know, like one of the big things now is, you know, every single kid is addicted to video games. They all love these electronic devices. They all love the phones. They all love the tablets. They all love the Xbox and the PlayStation and all this. We've set up boundaries with our children and focus on schoolwork during the week, activities and schoolwork. They're not allowed to play with all of their devices during the week. You know, come Friday, if they've done everything that they need to do, Friday after school, once everything is done, their devices are unlocked, and then they can go play them. And they can play as long as, and we have to monitor it. If we ask them, it boils down to communication. What tests do you have next week? What do we need to study on? So we find out what he's got coming up, what Ava's got coming up, and we make them study. And we allocate certain times on the weekends where they need to step away from their electronic devices and then focus on their schoolwork. These are all boundaries, and it all boils down to communication. If we don't communicate with our kids to find out what they've got going on and just let them go off and gallivant and do what they got to do, then they're not going to be successful. And luckily right now, and hopefully it continues, that both of our kids are on the honor roll. Both of them are on high honor rolls. They're both very active children. You know, we've got them competing in various different things.
Talk about today, dude, because you read my mind. I was literally going to say, like, talk about, not that we have to, like, just blow up Mello. We could talk about Ava too, but
blowing up Mello. Mello is, you know, like, Ava's a rock star. Ava does musical theater. Ava does dance. Ava's on a swim team. She's rocking out solid numbers. I'm proud of Carmelo. Carmelo decided to venture into wrestling this year. Now, COVID took out wrestling last year. In 7th grade, he was able to choose various sports, but one sport that he really wanted to do was wrestling, and the schools eliminated it last year. They reinstituted it this year, but they still have to wear a face mask while they're wrestling, which makes no sense. But whatever, we won't get into that. But today,
Mello.
Yeah, Jarrell, yeah, Ava, yeah, Mello. Today was Carmelo's fourth wrestling match, and I mean, this kid, his confidence level skyrocketed. I walked into the gymnasium tonight. He looked at me with this look of just utter confidence, and he was across the gym. And as soon as he locked eyes with me, him and I were sending hand signals to each other like we were on the same zone. And he tells me, I've got a match today. It's the 3rd match. I got it. And he had this look of confidence in his face. And his team went out there, and the first 2 matches, boom, 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 they won, one after the other. Carmelo went out there, and within what we looked at the video, it was like 20 seconds.
Yeah, 20 seconds.
He took the kid down, single-legged him, took him down, followed through, pinned him, got up. Not only did he flex to the camera, he pounded his chest and did a wave off to the crowd, and then just walked off.
He's like, deuces.
But the confidence level that this kid has now from going out there and not only competing, he put the work in while he was training. Listen, he wanted to quit. He started wrestling. He didn't realize how tough it was. And with this, because he's on a swim team as well. So we had to pause the swim because he really wanted to wrestle. And we gave him the option. Listen, you can try wrestling and do wrestling, and we can pause swimming, or you can continue swimming. It's your choice. We gave him a choice, but he has to be active. He has to choose an activity. He has to choose one. So he said, I really want to give wrestling a go. Within a week of wrestling, he was like, man, this is super hard. I don't know if I want to continue it. I said, well, and again, communication. I said, well, why is it hard, Mello? And he goes, my body is just really sore. I'm really sore and I'm really tired. And I had to say to him, listen, your nutrition boils into this as well. I said, so all the, the pizza and the hot dogs and the chicken nuggets and the French fries that you love to eat, even though it's organic and we buy all organic stuff and feed them all organic food, you have to eat healthier so your body can recover from all of this additional training that you're doing. So we started, we got him on a grass-fed protein. We started getting him some protein shakes after his training sessions. The kid felt 1,000 times better, and he stuck with it. And right now he's 3-1, and the kid's doing phenomenal in wrestling. So I'm very proud of him.
I mean, there's so many things to pull out there that I think are valuable, just nuggets of information. Is like, especially when you see the success, people see that and they're like, I want that. But it's like, you don't always think about and realize how uncomfortable it was, the sacrifices that went with it, the mental kind of challenge that goes with that, the kind of struggle of like, dude, this is hard, man. Like, I don't want to do this all the time. Like, this is a lot of sacrifice. And then to your point, one of the other things you mentioned to me that I also thought was just awesome, and it just demonstrates the well-roundedness too and the mindset that goes with it, is not only after the match, he was hyped about his physical performance, but also about school. What did he tell you?
So after his match, he came up, he gave me a fist pound. I said, congratulations to him. He didn't even talk about the wrestling match. He was like, you know what I got on my social studies test today? I was like, what? He's like, I got a 91 on my social studies test today. I was like, man, that's awesome. And this kid has been putting work in. He's been going to school early for extra work to study for his tests with the teachers, at school all day long, and then goes to wrestling afterwards, and then comes home and he studies. The kid's putting in work. So I said to him, man, you had an awesome day, bud. Not only did you go out and win this wrestling match that you put work into, but you also got an awesome grade on your social studies test. I can't ask for a better job from them.
Exactly. And that's just, I think, again, the work that goes into it. But I'm just going to pause really quick. And then I see we got another comment here. So Coralie says, hey, Mike, I am home from the hospital having kidney problems, though. Well, hey, Coralie, I'm glad to hear you're home. Congratulations, by the way, you had a baby, right? I might be like misconstruing the timelines. You're either pregnant or you just had a baby. Is that right? And then let me know if I'm missing that in the chat. I try to remember like everyone, but again, when we have like a lot of people, it's hard to always get the story straight, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. But I'm glad you're okay, or I'm glad you're home. And then talk to me about what's going on with the kidney problems, dude. Like, if you want to share whatever you want to share in the chat, we can dig into that. Like, I've had my own slight kidney things going on. And then obviously, Chuck, you've had things going on, and just everything's been injured on, Chuck. If we're just gonna be honest, Chuck, like you've definitely like put your body through the ringer. And like,
thanks for calling me out on that, Mike.
I mean that in a positive way. Like, I know it's gonna sound weird, but like, had 2 girls. Yeah, exactly. So 2 girls, like a champ.
Wow, congratulations.
Congrats. And
absolutely. She just had 2 girls now. Did you have twins?
Yeah, so that's twins, right? Twins? Yeah.
Congratulations.
Right? That's awesome. And I'm sorry. I get excited. I imagine that's like stressful too. And I believe you had COVID before too, like during your pregnancy as well. So like, I imagine there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of things going on. And then, so this is something like this actually ties into like, so I want to talk about a pregnancy story, and I'm curious to hear your experience, Coralie. And I'm also curious to hear your experience, Chuck, for both Melo and Ava, because like that was something about boundaries for Lena, believe it or not, that me and Ashley actually, that was one of the times we didn't kind of see eye to eye. And that was a big shift in our relationship and in my mindset was, my family, we were in North Carolina. We didn't have our house yet. We had Lena. We were renting a place. It wasn't as big as our place is now. Thankfully, we were literally right next door to my in-laws, Rose and Fred, which may sound like a nightmare for some people, but like, I love my in-laws, and like, they're really supportive, very helpful. Like, they don't like get all up in our biz, and they're just like, my mother-in-law is like a social worker, psychology background, like super into all that stuff. And my father-in-law is just like a cool guy. And anyways, my point of saying all this is like, I wanted my family to be there and be in the hospital, be in the room, be in the house. And like, Ashley's like, dude, I'm not trying to have all this like extra noise. Like, I just want to have our group unit. And I couldn't, at the time, I wasn't comprehending that yet. And then when we had Tessa during COVID, it was like, we wished, obviously, it wasn't that situation, but it was actually kind of nice and refreshing because we were able to just not even argue. I didn't have to worry about saying anything. I was just like, dude, because of COVID, you don't have to worry about anyone coming anyway. And it was just like a really nice break. So that's like my experience. And I'm curious to hear yours, Chuck, whatever you want to share. And then Coralie, same thing for you. And then Coralie
I'm
also.
reading Coralie's messages right now. So nice job with the twins, Coralie. Congratulations. With the kidneys, it sounds like we need to flush those out and possibly take some supplements to support some healthy kidneys, but we can get into that later. Mike, yeah, you're insane for wanting to have everybody over your house.
Too much.
Number one, you're not the one pushing a child out of your body.
Yeah.
You're not the one that your hormones are going off of the chart because obviously, female hormones greatly affected by pregnancy. And you're insane for wanting everybody to come over your house. I'm sure, Ashley, and I told you this when we talked about it when you were having the kids. It's a big thing. I mean, that's one of the hardest things for a female to go through is giving birth. You're insane for wanting to overload Ashley's just overall perception of what's going on. I'm sure she just wanted to have bonding time with her new baby at home.
Exactly.
With her family unit, which is her husband, the new baby, and herself. And I get that other family members want to be there and help out and everything. But again, boundaries. Come on. It's a big thing. If I can remember, it's been so long ago. I was in the hospital room with Pina for both of our kids.
You weren't in a cigar in the waiting room, just like, I'm just making a joke, dude, because you're old. Do you get it? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, everybody's been calling me old lately, man.
You're not old, dude. If anything, here, let's actually play a game. I want you guys to guess how old do you think Chuck is in the chat.
I just get out of the shower. I look like hell.
Not even that. I think you gave away by saying how long you guys were married and stuff like that. But
okay.
I'm curious to see, what do you guys think? How old do you think Chuck is? And who do you think's older? Do you think Chuck's older or I'm older? Actually, I don't know if that's
yeah, no, let's play that game.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, man. Chuck's, I would put Chuck as, anyway.
Don't even say it. Yeah, so, her family was there. My mom actually came down for both kids after, a little while. A couple days of being in the house, just connecting with each other. Her family, was at the hospital, and then we went home our separate ways. We were here, and we tried to get as much of just ourselves with the babies being here, when they first came, and then other family members started coming over. But you're insane to have people staying at your house. What's wrong with you? You can't have that. You got to support. Listen, the other thing. Oh, Corley said that's close.
Yeah, I was like, you're almost there.
That's close. I forgot what I was going to say, but
Corley, I feel like you're a pediatrician, if I remember correctly. Is that right? Are you a pediatrician, or is that somebody? Because we have actually had quite a few pregnant moms in the chat lately, and like, shout out to all the moms out there, all the ladies that are pregnant. Like, shout out to you guys.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. Again, they go through so many emotions. You're carrying a human in you for a long period of time, and then you have to push that human out. Honestly, I do give my wife every ounce of credit, and honestly, whatever she wanted during this time period. If my wife said, do this, I went and made sure that I did it, and I did it well, and I was just there to support my wife. And to this day, I'm very supportive of her. Whatever she wants, I give it to her. I give my wife every ounce of credit. She is the one primarily running the kids back and forth all of the time, driving them back and forth. She spends a lot of time at home with the kids. She gets the luxury of working from home to time. So I don't know how she does it, and I give her all the credit in the world for doing it. Kudos to all the moms out there, all the stepmoms, everybody out there who's an awesome mom, kicking ass and taking names. So without you guys, we would totally be standing in the corner trying to figure out where we're going.
Yeah, we wouldn't even be here, right, hypothetically. But like the other sense of it, so the reason I was kind of laughing before is because, Chuck, there's an interesting contrast to how you react in that situation, which is like, dude, I'm in hindsight like so down on not down on myself, but like disappointed, maybe is a better word, of like some of the choices that I made in hindsight. And like you said, like the responsibilities that like Ashley takes on and all the dynamics there, I'm super grateful for. And like I try and like, do that. And then was that saying my babies are next to me? Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, Coralie. That's awesome. Well, if I could high five them for me, just like little nice high fives.
Little baby high fives.
Yeah, exactly. But so one of the things I did actually, I forget, I want to say it was with Lena. Might have been with, no, it was definitely, I think it was with Lena. So you know what I did while Ashley was in labor? Dude, you're gonna hate me.
I'm shaking my head already.
I went to Moe's, the burrito spot where they're like fast, and I got a burrito and food, and I brought it into the labor and delivery room while she wasn't like pushing it. She was having her contractions.
Did you eat it in front of her too, Mike, while she was
trying? Yeah. And so here's the thing.
So many things wrong with it.
So what we did was I also requested a room, like a water room. So there's like a hot tub in the room, right? So like I was like, dude,
you went in the hot tub too,
bro. So I wanted to. That's where Ashley drew the line. This is what's crazy about my wife. She didn't even draw the line at, hey, Mike, don't bring that food in here. Get out. She didn't say that. She didn't even say that. She just like, do not get in that freak. She didn't even say it like that. She's like, Mike, just don't go in the tub. Don't go in the tub. That's it. It's not for you. It's for me. And you don't go in that tub. That's ultimately what she said.
The simple fact that she had to tell you not to go in the tub, Mike, it means you need to step your game up.
I packed the bathing suit. Like I packed the bathing suit.
You totally would have went in there in your underwear. I mean, you've been training in your underwear. I'm sure you would have went in there in your underwear.
Yeah.
There's so many things wrong with that. I mean, when Pina was, look at my hair. Sorry, again, I apologize.
It's looking lovely.
I'm just.
It's looking a little bit browner than it has been lately. And then Jesse R. Smith Jr. Thanks for the follow, by the way. It looks good, dude.
At least it's not gray. Anyway, like when Pina was giving birth with our second Ava, I mean, I went to the extra mile because Carmelo couldn't be there to go buy a frame and put his picture in it and put like #1 mom. And
come on, guy. Come on. You're just making me.
I roll, Mike.
Chuck, you're an amazing person.
She couldn't have her little boy in the hospital room with her, so I went and got a frame of him with like #1 mom, and I put it next to her in her hospital room. I made sure that Pina's time when she was there was the most comfortable time that she could have been. Whether or not I ate or got in a hot tub, I didn't care. I was wearing the same clothes for like 3 days straight because I was taking care of Carmelo while she was in the hospital, and when trying to work and trying to run all this other crazy nonsense. So again, the small sacrifices that I had to make for the major sacrifice of Pina contributing to our family. Mike, step your game up, man.
I set the bar kind of low on the first one, but then after that, like I've definitely learned, and like I've really drastically grown since then, and like just opening up the communication doors and being less like emotional and like being like resistant against what she has to say and what's going on, and thinking about those things. And that's like the now that in hindsight, I'm like, dude, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life?
The question of you and what are you doing comes into play a lot.
Yeah, and Coralie, so go enjoy, check out the streams. Do you, dude. You don't have to ask us to go check out others. I appreciate you stopping by, saying hey, sharing the update. It's good to see. It's good to hear that things are going okay. I hope your kidneys continue to feel better. The meds kick in, the kidney stones wash out. And yeah.
Good luck with those babies. Keep kicking ass as a mom, and I hope you feel better.
Great. Night. Just dropping that little chat in there. So the only thing I'm going to say is, and I thought this was kind of funny, the doctor, and I will start to bring it home with this, Chuck, because A, it's late. Also, shout out to you, Chuck, by the way. Not only you're a hero when it comes to family dynamics and things, but I want to say I texted you like this morning or this afternoon.
It was yesterday.
I gave you like 36 hours. That's a lot. Whoa.
Like, and you didn't tell me what we were talking about. You just said, Chuck, can you join? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll join.
You're like, all right, Mike. I feel like Pina even answered first. Pina's like, yeah, you can do it after
this. Today. I totally said that to her today. I was like, because I completely lost track of time. Like I thought we were doing this last night.
Yeah.
And then when I was talking to her today, and I was like, I got to go to Carmella's wrestling match. I got to cook. I got to do this. I got to do that. And she's like, you got to do the podcast. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot I got to do that podcast. She's like, you're the one that said you would do it. I was like,
Like,
you said it.
And I appreciate that, Pina, and I appreciate you, Chuck. And that's the thing. So let's go back all the way to the boundaries, right? Let's even go back to the boundaries. This is a perfect example of, maybe not perfect example, because like you're gonna say like, oh, Mike, I like doing this stuff, and blah blah blah, which you do, and I get that. But like even that's an example of like, you know, you get pulled in a lot of directions, man, and you get pulled to do a lot of favors, and you get pulled to do a lot of things, and you know, obviously you still manage it in the life that you've created for yourselves, and you and Pina have created for the kids and for you guys is amazing. But I think that's why I was so excited to have you on and picking the boundaries topic, because you're such a perfect representation of on both ends of the spectrum of like, and going back to that point of like even being out at dinner, right? Like, hey, once you're like, if you wrong Chuck, like that's what I'm saying, man. Like I don't know what would have to be done to wrong you, like, because like and I can imagine like once you wrong you, dude, like I would understand, like, yeah, never talk to me again if I mess something up for you.
Don't test the waters, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't even want to know, but like maybe I want to know in a hypothetical sense, because like who would do that to you? Like why would they do that?
I've been burned plenty of times.
Oh, dude, even just like business things that I've seen from like whatever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been plenty of times that I've been burned. People trying to take advantage of me, of my kindness,
of your wisdom, your experience. Because that's the other thing too, Chuck. I feel like you're too humble. Like the professional experience and knowledge that you have and what you bring to the table and the corporate dynamic of things, it's crazy. And there's a reason why people come to you for this kind of stuff, including myself.
Well, I appreciate that. But, you know, there's like I said, there's been plenty of times where I've gone the extra mile to do things for people and they take advantage or they go too far, or they, you know, go behind my back, you know, and just burn me. And then if you do that, I mean, again, it takes me a while to let somebody in because I have been burned before. And then when I do let somebody in and then they burn me after I've let them in, that's it. You're done. You go over in the corner. Don't ever bother contacting me again. You're deleted from my phone. Don't approach me. Yeah, just blocked. Just stay the hell away from me. I don't need to talk. I don't need negativity in my life. I've experienced a lot of negativity throughout my years. And Corley, we never told you, you're the only one that guessed. I'm going to be 47. I'm 46 right now. So you were really close.
Yeah.
You know, I've experienced a lot of negativity on my time on this earth. And it took me a long time to get to this realization that I'm better than what I think of myself all the time. And I don't need negativity in my life. So I've chosen to, any type of negativity, go away. I don't need it. I don't want it. So just back off. I write it off. So boundaries, you know, but again, if you're my friend, if you're within my circle, if you're an acquaintance that's asking for something and we're on good terms, I'll do anything for anybody. I have, and
I can attest to that.
Yeah. Mike knows. Mike knows. But I tend to go the extra mile for, even if it's somebody like, you know, there's a new guy that's been showing up to jiu-jitsu. I've only known him for like a month. And the guy comes up to me and asks me to help him with his nutrition and with guiding him through for some stuff. And he's telling me that he paid all this money for this nutrition coach. And I asked him to show me a couple things. And I was like, listen, I don't know what you paid for, but what you paid for is trash. The guy has him eating way too much food, and this guy is overweight and he's not happy with it and the way he looks. And I said, yeah, you know what? Honestly, you know, I train with you, I work out with you. If you need a little bit of help, I'll guide you in the right direction. I just want to see people live a healthier life, you know, and that's a big thing for me. But I do this a lot, and can I capitalize from it? Sure. Do I really, should I? Probably, but I don't. A lot of times I don't, because I just want to help people, you know. And if somebody comes to me and asks me for help, I'll help. But there's another prime example of somebody who I've worked with in the past who I initially helped. He asked me for help, and I helped him, and he burnt me, and he talked garbage about me. And then he came back to me and asked me for more help, and I said, okay, but now I'm going to charge you, right? And I charged the guy, and then he didn't follow the program. He didn't stick with the program. He lied to me numerous times throughout the course of the program, and then he came back to me again after talking all kinds of trash again. And I said, you know what? I just don't need you in my life, pal. You're negative. You're a negative person. You talked a lot of trash. Go away. And I don't talk to that guy anymore. And it takes like something like that to do it. But you have to realize your worth. And that's a big thing. And it takes a long time to realize your worth and set your values as to what you want around your life.
Chuck, I think that's like a perfect way to wrap this up. When we talk about boundaries, when we talk about all that stuff, I have nothing more to add to that, honestly. And we're going to bring it home with that. I just want to say thanks for everybody hanging out in the chat, for the comments, everything in between, for the follows. We appreciate you guys. And especially thanks to you, Chuck. Literally on like less than 24 hours notice, I'm like, hey, man, you want to jump in and do this? And you're like, well, first, thanks to Pina for like speaking for you, but then even you were like, yeah, dude, I got you. Especially after a day like today, man. Congratulations to Mello. And also, like, we didn't even talk, like, there's so many other things that we can talk about. Like, Ava's got so many awesome things going on. Pina's got so many awesome, you have so many awesome things going on. You know, road to black belt in jiu-jitsu, like, professional things going on, things contributing to like LOF and the growth we've seen as a company. Once not only you've been a part of it, but once you were able to get through this like thick noggin with like just actual.
Yeah, but it's taken me like a solid decade to get through that cranium of yours.
But now it lasts, man. It's gonna hang. So with that being said, we're gonna bring it home. We're gonna kind of have the outro now. Check the outro video. This one I'm not gonna hype up.
Like, is it just a countdown again?
It's basically like thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Kind of a deal.
Listen, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate everybody listening to me rant and just, go off. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the comments. I'm grateful for every one of you. So thank you.
Yeah, y'all. And cheers, Chuck. Let's see it. Check this out.